Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another live. My name is Laken. If you're new here, and I go live every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern to answer all of your questions about goals, planning, life, whatever it is that is on your mind. I'm here to answer your questions. It's one of my favorite times of the week to just get to sit and chat with you and usually sip on something delicious while we're doing it. So we will kick it off with our first question that we always start with, which is what are you drinking while we are hanging out today? I'm struggling with my words. If you're here live, let us know in the chat, say hi, and let us know what you're drinking while we're hanging out today. And if you are part of the replay fam and are watching the replay, I appreciate you so much. Let us know in the comments what it is that you're drinking while you are watching the replay. I just have a latte today, just a plain old latte, but it smells good. And I can't wait. I can't wait to dig in once it cools down a little bit. It's a little bit hot right now. All right, we've got water, lemonade, hello, Diet Coke. And as a reminder, always as well, if your YouTube name or your Facebook name is not your first name that you like to go by, I would love for you to include your first name in the comment or the question. That way I can address you by your first name. I do really appreciate that. And one more thing I always try to remember to mention at the beginning is if you are catching the replay and you have a question that you would like me to answer next week, you can either leave it in the comments of this video or you can submit it as part of my Instagram Q&A box on Mondays. If there's a question that comes in the Q&A box that I can't answer in a 15-second Instagram story, then I will bring it to the Q&A. All right. Diet Coke. Amy, I love that color pink on you. Thank you. It's like playing with Laken pink, basically, like almost exactly matches the words there. It's pretty darn close. Water and coffee, Dr. Pepper Zero. Lots of delicious drinks happening today. Let me check the temperature on this. Okay. Yeah, it's pretty darn perfect. Let's get to it. What questions do you have today? What do you want to chat about? If you have a question or an idea, something that you're struggling with and you don't know how to phrase it into a question, you can always just say topic and whatever it is that you want to talk about, and we will just have a conversation about that topic. Lemon water. Oh, Mackenzie, that like feels super healthy. They say like there's lots of benefits of having lemon in your water. I was just reading a book and it was talking about that. I just don't like lemon in my water. I don't like anything in my water, frankly. I just like, and I also have water nearby as well. I just like plain old water. And I like it to be as cold as possible. That's my favorite kind of water. That's how I like my water, cold and plain. Everybody's different though. Everybody's water preferences are very different and it makes a difference. And I am here to tell you, while yes, like having lemon in your water is sure, maybe there are benefits from it. Drink your water how you will drink it. However you will drink more, whether that is flavored, unflavored, cold, room temperature, like I don't care what the other benefits are. Having just water is more important than having it the quote unquote best way for your body. Like I know people will say that having ice cold water is not as good for your like digestion, but I'm not going to drink it if it's not ice cold. So having water is better than no water. So, all right. I don't know why I just went on a random tangent about water. Let's get to questions. What questions do you have? What do you want to talk about this week? I like this question, Cheney. Are you still listening to podcasts? Yes. Which ones? So let me open up my podcast app to answer this question for you. I am still listening to podcasts. I am not listening to as many as I used to. I just have been really trying to be selective about how I'm spending my time. And yes, I can listen to podcasts while I do something else, but sometimes I really benefit from just listening to music. It's just much better for my like mood and my brain. So I have limited the podcasts I listen to. So the ones that I always try to keep up with are All It Takes Is a Goal from John Acuff, Chasing Simple by Amanda Warfield, the Lazy Genius podcast with Kendra Adachi, Losing 100 Pounds with Corinne from Corinne Crabtree, and then Yes and from Judy Holler. I also am subscribed on my like podcast player to Emily Lay's The Simplified podcast, but I will not listen to every episode of that podcast. I will skip ones that do not apply to me. I do that with the other ones too, but it feels like there's way less of them that don't apply to me than hers. There will be topics that I'm like that doesn't apply to my life and I will skip over it. I also, for both hers and John Acuff's, I will typically skip over interviews unless it's somebody that I absolutely love. The interview ones just don't seem to provide me as much value as their solo episodes. So for both of those podcasts, I will also skip the interview style podcasts. So That's all I've got going for me right now. Most of these I've been listening to for a very long time. But I just have definitely whittled it down to what I think are the best for me right now. And that's the important part of that, is that there have been other podcasts that I have loved that in that season, it was just what I needed. And maybe someday these podcasts, if they still are going, won't be the right ones for me. But like right now, with what I am focused on in my life and my goals, those are the podcasts that are providing the most value for me. Emily, topic, planning when your days are never the same and can be a little bit unpredictable. So I like this question. We talked about it a smidge yesterday on the Patreon live Q&A. A specific request from somebody was talking about how her time frame, she is a substitute teacher. So sometimes she's working and sometimes she's not. And which is also applicable to you, which I thought was funny. And then sometimes her kids have activities after school and sometimes they don't. So that time frame for her between work and the evening is always very different. And she was like, I don't know how to plan that. I don't know how to plan for that. And so the response that I gave her that I think will definitely help answer your question as well is, first off, making a list of like the non-negotiables, right? The things that have to get done at some point in the day, no matter what. So you have that list. Then making a list of the things that you would like to get to at some point during the day. But like, if you don't get to them, the sky's not going to fall down, but these are the things that you'd like to find time for. Then for those things that you would like to find time for, and even maybe for some of the non-negotiables, having different levels of options. So the example that we were talking about with her is she needs some kind of rest between like getting home from work after working all day and like doing kids activities and things like that, or like really just the rest of the evening. She needs some sort of rest in that time frame. And so I recommended having options in terms of what that looks like for her, right? On a really hectic day where there is very little time, her rest might literally just be sitting in the car by herself, playing her favorite music on like full blast. 5 minutes of reading one chapter of a fiction book, right? 5 minutes of literally sitting there in silence and sipping on a cup of tea. On a day where her kids have no activities and maybe she didn't work that day, and so she was able to get lots of household things done earlier in the day, rest might look like a full hour of a TV show on the couch while her kids play outside. But no matter what, she's got options for what that's going to look like. So you have your list of non-negotiables, and then you have your list of things I'd like to do. And here's my 5-minute option. Here's my 15-minute, 30-hour. The time chunks are going to vary based on your needs and your schedule, but having different options for each of those different things that you would like to somehow incorporate into your day. And then plan your day to the best of your ability at the beginning of the day with what you know right now, but then be willing to be flexible when things pop up, right? Be willing to adjust the way that you need to, and know that you might not get everything done that's on that list. And that does not mean that your day was a failure. It just means that things happened and something unpredictable popped up and you needed to adjust accordingly. And that is an accomplishment in and of itself. So I hope that all of that in somewhere helps answer your question. Claire, how are you finding Throne of Glass? I love it, clearly, because I cannot put it down. And basically, like every spare minute I have to relax, I'm like, I'm going to read my book. I'm going to read my book. And now I'm on book 7. I think last week I was on book 5 when we talked about it. I really, really like it. Oh, Katie, I'm glad that you were able to join us. The last month has been super hectic and you started back in the office. I get it. We all have those. Life ebbs and flows between like, I've got more free time to I have zero free time. All over the place. Amy, does the free class from No BS provide enough info to start losing weight if someone can't afford the full program? Absolutely. So to clarify a couple things that are in her question that you may not know about, No BS is the weight loss program that I have joined. It is a paid program and it is not inexpensive. She does offer a free class. I think it's 4 videos, and you can sign up. I will leave the link down below after the live is over. You can sign up for her. I get nothing. I literally just talk about it because it works for me. You can sign up for the free class, and there's like 4 days of videos. Full disclosure, at the end of the 4 days, she is going to try and sell you to join the paid program. But if you know that that does not fit in your budget, set that ground rule at the beginning. The other thing is continuing to still listen to her free podcast. And she's got 200 plus episodes of her free podcast that can be very beneficial. She also literally just did a podcast episode. I think it was last week's episode or 2 weeks ago. That is how to use her free things to lose weight. Like how to use the free tools she provides between the free course, the podcast, Instagram, all these things in order to be successful and to lose weight. And I 100% believe that you can lose weight by just doing the free class and doing her free stuff. Go listen to that specific episode, implement what she says, and it is possible. Carrie, thank you for including your name. I really, really appreciate that. This is so funny because, let me read her question for those of you that listen to the replay, like podcast style, where you're not actually watching. And I do have the question pop up on the screen, but if you're not looking at your phone, you can't see it. So she asked, best tip to get back on track after vacation, planning, food routines, etc. So I have been trying this new thing. And so far you've only gotten one of them, but I've been trying this new thing where the days in the life, I feel like that's how you would make that plural, or day in the life videos. That's easier. The day in the life videos that I film have a topic, have something I'm providing tips on, something that I'm really focusing on as part of that day in the life. And the last one that I filmed was literally this topic. I filmed it the Monday after I got back from being out of town over the weekend. And it's literally 5 tips on getting back on track, quote unquote, after being out of town. So that video is coming. I believe it's going live May 6th. So you still have a couple weeks until that video is going to go live, but that will give you 5 tips. My number one tip, or just really a mindset for when you're getting back to it after being on vacation, and whether you've been on vacation for 1 day, 7 days, 10 days, 14 days, you are not going to be able to do everything that first day. There is no way that you can go from do whatever you were doing, all the routines that you had, which you were likely doing imperfectly anyway, because we can't do anything perfectly, but whatever you were doing before you left, and then not doing it, even if you did some of it, some version of it while you were gone, when you get back, you're not gonna be able to do it all. You're just not. And letting go of that need for perfection, that need to just pick back up exactly where you left off, knowing that you're not going to be able to, is absolutely freeing and will let you not feel so down on yourself on that first day when you struggle, because you will. It will be hard. There will be things that you're like, I can't do this today because I am still tired, or I'm still unpacking, or whatever it is, it's your life is not in the place for you to just immediately pick back up. So that's my number one tip, is that mindset of letting go of the expectation, really, that first day back is going to look just like the day before you left. And then also video coming in a couple of weeks. That gives a lot more tips and an actual, here's how I do it on that day when I got back from being on vacation. Now, that was also only a 2-day trip, but I think my tips would still be the same. It was just likely a little bit easier for me to show it that day, whereas a 2-week trip is going to be very different. I will also say I used to be the kind of person that tried to really, really maximize my time in any given location. And I would always take the last flight out on a Sunday night, or even a Monday morning flight, and try and push my trip to the very, very brim. I don't do that anymore. If I can, depending on what the trip is, I want there to be a little bit of a buffer. So when we take week-long trips, we started coming in on Saturdays because we know that having that Sunday is going to make such a difference in our lives on Monday. Or if we're going to come home Sunday, we know that Monday is likely going to look like a Sunday for us, not like a true work day. Now, we both have the benefit of working for ourselves, and we have that flexibility, and I understand that. But I even started doing this when I was still working my corporate job, is using that vacation time to make sure that I knew that I needed that extra time to get myself back into it, if that makes sense. Okay. You're welcome. And thank you. I tried something new this last week with I don't know if ombre is ombre. It's not ombre because it's not all one color, but it's a thing. I don't love the red. I think the red and the pink are way, way, way too close. So I wish I had done I don't know why I can't turn it to show you. I wish I had done a purple on my thumb instead of the red, but I really love these 4. I just need maybe I need a peach or something in between these 2 instead of doing a purple on the end. Or I could do white on the other side of the yellow. I don't know, but thank you. They feel very springy to me. And it was whatever day it poured last week in New York, I think that was Thursday. And I was just this sucks. I don't want it to be pouring. I want it to be warm and spring and sunny. And so I made my nails reflect that. Okay. I don't see any other questions. We have a quiet group today. Oh, here we go. Gabriella, I would love to memory plan, but I feel like there's not a lot that changes daily to have a memory planner. Any suggestions? Yes. So, first off, if you say I would love to memory plan, what is it about memory planning that intrigues you? Or what is it making you want to do it? Is it using the supplies? Is it having your life documented? Is it like figure out what's important to you and then use that answer to guide how you go about it? Because if it's something like having every day documented, you don't have to do something that's like a whole page per day or even like a weekly spread. You could do a monthly memory keeping where it is a month, each box in the monthly layout, that's all you need for the day. So you need like one picture for the day instead of like a whole column's worth of pictures or pages worth of pictures, right? So that could be an option for you. If it is to use the supplies, because the supplies are fun and scrapbooking is fun, then coming up with other things that you can document. Can you document more feelings, right? And journal about your feelings? Can you focus on taking a certain type of picture every single day? Maybe it's food that you're documenting. Maybe it's what the weather was like that day, right? Like other things that do change throughout the day that you can document, and then do bigger like spreads or whatever it is when it's something that has more pictures naturally. I think really it comes down to figuring out what's important to you and then applying that to a methodology that you can feel like you could keep up with and would excite you and wouldn't feel like you're doing the same thing every day. And then always, 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 always the reminder that what it looks like for you does not have to be what it looks like for anybody else, right? We follow all of these people online and we're like, well, they do it like this and I really like the way that looks, so like I'm going to do the same thing. Your life is not the same as theirs. Even if it feels like it's very close, even if it feels like it's very similar, your life is different. And so if you have a different style of memory keeping that fits with your priorities and your life, that is amazing. So Sarah, I lost my train of thought because I read this question and it kind of made me laugh. Is Chrissy Ann Designs named after someone other than Kristen? No, her name is Kristen Ann. So it's named after her. Oh, Crystal, I love this. One of my favorite phrases is embrace the mundane to keep track of the little things that make your days your days. Absolutely. Like, and I get that. When I was working a corporate job and like that was, and especially when I was working in the office, right? Between commuting and working, like that was 80% of my day. So it felt like, what am I going to memory keep? Like there is nothing that's unique about my day. And usually there was, right? What podcast did I listen to on the subway that morning? What kind of work meeting did I have that day that like was a little bit different than the day before? And like thinking about that, like there can be little things that are different about each day. Ooh, Ariana, this is a great question. One-way friends. I always have to reach out. How do I let go without feeling bad? So before I get to the question part of your question, I would ask yourself if the feeling of the one-way friendship is, it really does feel like they're not invested in your friendship. Because I have friends, one in particular that I can think of, who in terms of your sentence that says, I always have to reach out, I always have to reach out to her. I am always the one that's like, we need to schedule brunch to hang out together. Hey, I'm having this and like, I'm inviting you to this. She, with the exception of like her birthday, is never the one to reach out or schedule plans. But when I ask her to show up for something, she shows up. When we are together, she asks questions back and forth and is there for me when I need her. And just because she never reaches out and it's not just me, right? That's just her personality. That's the other piece of it. It's not just me. She's like that with other people too. So that is her. And as her friend, I have had to like learn that and then be okay with it. That's like, she just isn't going to do that. So if I want to maintain this friendship with her, which I do, because again, she shows up when I need her or when like we have something important going on, then like it's worth it to me to be the one that always reaches out. So that's the first part, is like, is it really one way? And if the answer is that what I said is not true, then ignore everything that I just said. But for other people, I just want to make sure that like it might feel like you always have to reach out. That doesn't necessarily mean that they are not a friendship you want to keep. If it is not a friendship that you want to keep, if you're the one always reaching out, it probably you're not going to have to do much, right? You don't actually have to have a conversation. You're probably literally going to stop reaching out, and that's going to be the fizzle. That's going to be the end of your friendship. And you just have to be okay with that within yourself and remind yourself that you are valuable, your time is valuable, your friendship is valuable. And if they are not they're not appreciating that, then there is no guilt that you are letting go of that. That was a lot of thoughts because I have a friend. I have a friend like this that literally that sentence completely applies to her, but she is one of my best friends, and I would never think of it as like she doesn't love me. It's just she doesn't do it with anyone. So I have a lot of thoughts on that. Thoughts on the new EC stuff. Excited for the A5 vertical. I have not watched any videos. I have only seen what I have seen on Instagram. That A5 vertical looks like a fantastic journaling planner. So that is my thought on that particular product. But I haven't, besides like seeing the designs, I think the ombre design's beautiful. That A5 planner vertical. That's all I've really like seen that's different. And for those who use the Daily Duo, like that added notes page seems like a really great addition. Any thoughts on your stickers? Are you incorporating them into your daily? Cat, no, right now my stickers are literally, as is my washi tape, collecting all the dust. It's a bummer. Allison, current struggle, determining what to consider a win, i.e. an amount of time doing a prioritized hobby per month. So this is a topic, one whole one-on-one session is all about wins and celebrating them. And the biggest thing that I want people to take home is that anything can be a win. Anything can be considered a win. There is no minimum. There is no maximum. There really, I mean, maximum for sure, but like there is no minimum that qualifies something as a win. If you are proud of it, if it is more than what you did before, if it is something that is moving you in the right direction, it's a win. And there is no set minimum. Now, if you're trying to determine like a goal in order to maybe reward yourself with something, that's a different conversation about like, what is the minimum that I'm trying to hit in order to reward myself? And that's just going to have to be trial and error. You're going to have to determine how much effort you're putting in to the reward that you're getting out. But it's always a win, even if it's 5 seconds. If it's more than you did yesterday because you did 0 seconds, I consider that a win. Heather, update from last week. I'm glad that I did not level up my walking. Struggle on week 3 is hit. Maintaining your minimum and getting the check marks. I appreciate you sharing. I'm glad that you stuck it out and are just continuing. And if you miss a day, like you miss a day during this time that you're struggling, but just be proud of all of the effort that you have put in so far this month. Amy, another good comment on the friendship conversation. Consider if a friend has depression or just a challenging season, reaching out may be really hard for them, but they appreciate your effort. Absolutely. Yeah. So lots of things to think about. And if the decision, Ariana, is that you don't want to be friends with them anymore, that is completely in your control. And like, that's a fine decision as well. We are all just sharing our thoughts and experiences. Amanda, I'm bad at not reaching out a lot. I've always felt like a bad friend. It's not malicious, but I just don't think about it. Maybe I'm not good at friendships. And I don't think this is true either. I had a conversation with someone about this recently. Also, there are certain friendships that I do feel like I need to say, like, this is like, I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this. There are certain friendships that I know that person needs to hear from me more often than other friends, right? The friend example I was talking about, if I only texted her when I like needed to make plans and then like we get together and we spend 5 hours talking, like that is our friendship and I would not think anything of it. There are other friends that I know that if I'm not regularly like, hey, how are you doing? Checking in with them, like if that they think of it as like that's a suffering or a negative on our friendship, right? So I mean, I would think about just what type of people your friends are. If they don't need you to check in and say, hi, how are you? Like my one friend, like then you're not bad at that friendship. It's really each friendship is unique. I think that's another big part of this. Every friendship is different. So the way that you communicate, how often you communicate, how often you see each other in person, how often you don't see each other in person, all the pieces of those I think are very unique and different to every single friendship in our lives. And so we can't just put all of our friendships in this box and be like, well, I talk to them this many times and I see them this often. And like that means it's a good friendship. Like, no, that is not what that means. It's more of what does this friendship need? Are they getting what they need from me? Am I getting what they need from them? And if the answer is yes, then awesome. The last thing about this, and I feel like this is a great topic and a great conversation. So I'm not saying like to kill it, but for me, one more thought that I had that I've also talked to a number of my friends about recently is friendship is not always going to be 50-50. In fact, most of the time, it's not, because one friend is going through something life altering at any given moment. And so there are going to be times that your friendship is going to lean way more towards the other person. And that's life. And then sometimes it will lean way more the other way. And so personally, a lot of my friendships, I do feel like have been leaning more towards me because of all the wedding stuff that we've had going on. And I felt like every time I talk to some of my friends, like we're always talking about me and the wedding and all those things. And for part of it, I was like feeling really bad. And then I had a conversation with a friend and it was like, it's not always going to be 50-50. And right now it might be like 80-20 because you have a big life event going on. Once your life event is over, you're not a bad friend. It's going to shift back the other way. And then who knows what's going to happen and which way it's going to go from there. But knowing that friendships, A, all look different and all are unique. And B, friendship is not always going to be 50-50 100% of the time. Okay, I feel like I'm like yelling about it and I feel like I need to take it down a notch, take a deep breath. Carrie, any other podcast you've been loving? That's funny. Somebody asked about podcasts at the very beginning. So when the replay gets going, go back and watch like the first 5 minutes. Oh, By the Book. I forgot about that podcast. Do they still do new episodes? I loved this podcast years and years ago. And then I felt like the episodes kind of started to get a little funny and maybe a little bit repetitive. So I kind of stopped listening to them. But I did love like the first couple seasons of that podcast. Joanna, I think I might be the one-way friend. Do you have any tips? Schedule a friend date, something else. So if you feel like you're that person, I would ask your friends, like, oh, do you want me to be the one instigating more? If you have a friend like me who is okay being the planner and being the one that reaches out, then your friend is they're fine. They're fine doing that for you. But you might have a friend that's like, no, I wish you would reach out more. Just ask them what they need and what they want in that friendship. And then try to do your best to commit to whatever it is they say that they need. Sorry, I had to block a troll. Brandy, I'll come back to your question. I'm going to wrap up this friendship. Amanda, I think I'm just not friends with people who need a lot from me. Maybe I've just gotten good at realizing when someone is going to drain me and I don't get close to them. I think if that is your friends are people who don't need a lot from you, then you're not a bad friend. You're fulfilling exactly what that friendship needs. I like this too, Allison. I text a friend a meme, pic, or quick hello and they pop in my head. I do that too. I'm very much, and that's why the other thing, like, exchanging phone numbers, right, is the next like level of friendship from like whatever messaging on social media or whatever it is. But like, it's so easy on social media to see like a reel or an Instagram post and be like, this made me think of you and send it to them that way. And like, sometimes I joke with some of my best friends, I like am talking to them in 3 different places because I sent them like a Facebook post that made me think of them and an Instagram and I'm texting them about something. But it's using those different methods of like communicating. I love that as well. Amy, also a really great suggestion. If I'm struggling to make plans with friends, a coffee date on FaceTime is easier to coordinate and show up to. It's my way of starting small and reaching out. Absolutely. 100%. Even if you live in the same place, like doing it virtually is a great way to start. 100%. Okay. If you have more questions, comments on friendships, I'm not saying like to stop them. I'm going to go back to this other question though from Brandy. Any tips on celebrating how far you have come already? I feel like I am nonstop trying to improve myself and I know I need to self-recognize. Yeah, this kind of goes back to the question about the wins. And the issue is that when we get to a point where we've accomplished something, we forget how far we've come. We forget where we came from. We forget all the work that we put in, and all we're thinking about is the next step. What's next? What's in the future? What am I going towards next? And so, a couple of ways to combat that. Number one is picking those milestones in advance that are shorter. So that's one of the reasons why I like quarterly goals and even monthly goals, right? You're making progress from point A to point B. Even if what you're trying to get to by the end of the year is point Z, you're still making progress. And so having those milestones set in advance that you can stop and celebrate at and acknowledge how far you've come. The other thing is looking at the progress. So having a place that you're tracking that progress and being able to see how far you've come and acknowledge that. The one of the best ways also to celebrate is telling other people. And so whether that's telling a family member, telling a friend, telling a Facebook group, telling us, like if you have a win you want to share here, share it with us. I also encourage the members of the Patreon community. I encourage them to share wins all the freaking time. We have a special hashtag for every single month that I'm like, I want you to share your wins, and they don't have to be huge. And just telling somebody else is a way to acknowledge the hard work that you've put in to get to where you are going, because that's never going to not be true. That feel like you're nonstop. I hope that never is not true. Like, I hope you're always trying to improve yourself and grow and achieve more goals. I hope that you never feel like I'm like, okay, I'm done. Like, I am perfect. And everything is, it doesn't mean that you can't be happy in your life, obviously. But like, we're always trying to go towards what's next. Doesn't mean that we can't celebrate all the hard work that we've put in. Holly, how do you decide which goals to focus on each day, week, season? A lot of practice. That's like the first answer here. Is it has taken me a really long time to figure that out, to figure out what works for me and what doesn't work for me. I mean, I've been using the Power Sheets for 4 years now, and I have figured out how to decide what I'm going to focus on in any given season, quarter, day, month, whatever it is. So that's the first answer, is trial and error, because there is no for most goals, there's not going to be any like one right way to do it or to not do it. That said, I will also kind of base it on how, like, what else I have going on, right? Like, I know that there are certain times of the month or certain times of the year that I am going to be better at focusing on something else. So I'm going to set that goal to go with that. And then just knowing that, like, I can change my mind. So you can say, I'm going to focus on this goal today. And then if you wake up that morning and you are not in a place to focus on that goal, okay, let that go, be a little flexible. What's another goal I could focus on instead of not doing anything? That's also the benefit of having multiple goals that you're working on, is that if you're not in a place to work on it in any given day or week, you can pivot and focus on something else, or you can just rest, because most of the time we're not resting enough. So that is for sure, is something that I do believe will get easier for you with practice, the more that you set goals and figure out how to figure out what works for you. That was a very like qualitative answer. I don't know if you wanted a more like, you probably did, but I don't know if you feel like you need more of like a like really actionable, almost strict answer. Let me know. Yes, Allison, I think this conversation proves that adult friendships are hard, and be kind to yourself. And I think it also reminds us that we're all feeling these things, right? Like, if you sit there and you're like, I feel like I'm a one-way friend, or I feel like I'm a bad friend, or I feel whatever it is that you feel like you're feeling, probably 95% of other adults are also feeling that way about friendships. And I think in particular, female friendships can be more difficult. Like Sam and I will talk about like I have some friends that I talk to every single day, right? He doesn't really have that because boys aren't that way, at least for his friends. Like he doesn't feel the need to talk to them every day to maintain those friendships. But he's also way more likely to pick up the phone and call and like sit there and have an hour-long conversation with like a friend from college. And I'm not likely to do that. So everything's different. It's hard. Give yourself permission to do what you need to do. Oh, thank you for sharing your story, Debbie. You and your best friend have been best friends since you were 54 years and counting. That is amazing. Okay, Jennifer, I see this is, I'm assuming, in reaction to Holly's question about more actionable. in terms of deciding which goals to focus on each day or week is literally as simple as taking the action steps. And therefore, your action steps need to be as small as possible and schedule them into your calendar. And you can do this on a daily basis, a weekly basis, or a monthly basis. I start with mine on a monthly basis and then get more flexible as we get smaller and pick, as I adjust it if I need to on a weekly basis and even more so on a daily basis. But it's literally taking your goals, breaking them down into steps, and then taking those steps and putting them into your planner or your Google Cal or whatever system you use to schedule your time. Yeah. Amy, have you ever tried theme days for work, batching like task one day a week? Any thoughts on this? So I tried it once, like one time, and it didn't work well for me. I think that really depends on your personality. So to elaborate a little bit, if you've never heard this, there are a lot of business owners who will group like tasks together on any given day. So like Mondays will be all about marketing, and Tuesdays will all be client coaching calls, and Wednesdays will be all about admin and like CEO work, and Thursdays will be education, and like grouping all of their tasks together. So I tried it at the very beginning, like at the very, very beginning of working for myself. And for me, there's a couple of reasons I think that it doesn't work for me. Number one is I get very bored. I cannot focus on the same thing for a whole day. Like that's why I didn't want to work my corporate job anymore. Like I wanted there to be diversity built in throughout my day. Number two is I just felt like there wasn't enough stuff for any aspect of my business to take up a whole day. Like it just none of it fit, with the exception of like coaching calls. Nothing fit in a whole day from start to finish. And then for that particular example, for coaching calls, while I love them and they do energize me, they also completely drain me from energy as well. And I cannot fathom doing more. Like my max is probably 4. I would prefer it to be like 3 per day. Like I would prefer to do 3 coaching calls a day, Monday through Thursday, and that be my like average schedule. That works with my energy levels. I could not fathom squeezing all like 10 for the week on one day. Like that like makes me want to cry. So for me, it just never really seemed to work. But I mean, it doesn't mean it wouldn't work for someone else. That's why I don't do it. Couple of more comments on friendships. Amanda, friendships have been hard for me since we joined the military. We move so frequently that I feel like I have to meet new friends. I completely feel that. I do think that technology has made it more beneficial for us to have friends from a distance. It doesn't mean that it makes it any easier though. Emily, friendship topic. Some of my friends and I have Marco Polo. That's the app. It's video chatting you can watch when you can. It helps us stay up to date when we're so far apart. Yeah. I try to have less. I don't have Marco Polo because I just trying to have less apps, but I'm a big fan of the voice message, like via text. So it's like, you can hear my voice. You can hear me. You can hear my emotions. Even if we're talking about something mundane, but then you can listen to it when it's convenient for you, right? Versus like a phone call where it's like, we have to talk right this second. Holly, I think I need to do less goals. I feel like that if my power sheets have 8 slots, that I need 8 goals. Next quarter, I may slim them down some. I don't know why I struggled so hard to read your answer. I think it's because I like really feel very strongly about this. You 100 zillion% do not need 8 goals. Like the power sheets do have 8 sections. And I understand that if you're somebody who leans towards a completionist, it can be really, really hard to leave those blank. You definitely do not need 8 goals. This year was the first year in a long time that I actually had 8 goals. For the last couple of years, I haven't. I've had anywhere from like 5 to 6. This year, I happen to have 8, but some of them are in my mind small. They're not big, massive goals. So I don't mind having 8 total. There's no goal police. Like nothing is wrong if you have less than 8 goals. So I 100%, and I see where you say next quarter, I might slim them down. That is 2.5 months away. That's a long way away. If you are overwhelmed right now with your 8 goals, I would encourage you to go look at them and cross one off. Just start small it doesn't feel very small, but start small by just cross one off, let one go. And you can always decide at the next quarterly refresh that you want to bring that one back and get rid of another one. But right now, how would it feel to cross one of those off? and for you to only have 7 goals that you're focusing on right now. I think it is okay to change our minds, right? In December, when you did all of your prep work, whether it was Power Sheets or Moxie Life or whatever it is, you did all this prep work and you came up with 8 goals. It's April. You're welcome to change your mind. I don't care that it's not a whole new year yet. I don't care that it's not a new quarter. I don't care that it's not a new month. You are allowed to change your mind at any given time. So if you are feeling overwhelmed, I highly recommend crossing one off and just seeing how it goes. And then you can always change your mind later. I'm going to stop because I could talk about that for a long time. Manta, I like voice messages, but my talk so long, my thumb hurts. Winky face, because most of those are to me, and I send long voice messages back. If you swipe up on the WhatsApp microphone button, it'll record without keeping your finger on it. Okay, that's helpful, Amy. We do it via text, like actual text message, like iMessage. So I don't, that doesn't really help solution. It's making me laugh because we do send long messages, and your thumb does get tired after a while from holding down the button. One time I wanted to send someone, like a friend, a voice message, but I didn't want to have to hold it because I wanted to like tell her while I was getting ready, but she couldn't talk on the phone. And so, but I was like, you don't need to see my face because I'm in the middle of something. So I literally like turned on the video and then put my phone face down and just talked, and then sent her like a 4-minute nothing video clip. It was so bizarre. Emily, how do you send text in iPhone via messages? So you hold down the, like in where you're going to type the iMessage, it's the little like squiggly, looks like audio sound circle that's gray on the right. And you press and hold that, and then you just talk into your phone. And you have to hold it until you're done talking, because as soon as you leave your phone up, it won't send automatically. That is a big difference also between voice messages on a phone and voice messages on Instagram, because on Instagram, when you left your finger go up, it just sends the message, the voice message, whether you were done with it or not. Whereas on your iPhone, then once you let go, it'll stop recording, and then you can either delete it or you can click send. So hopefully that explained it enough, but I'm just laughing because I have on Instagram, which I also love to send voice messages on Instagram, especially when somebody applies to work with me one-on-one. That's why I asked for your Instagram handle, because I would rather send a voice message back and forth with you to chat about things rather than like be formal and send an email. But like I have been known to accidentally let go and have it send before I was done talking, or I wanted to delete it. And Instagram voice messages needs a little bit of TLC. Oh my goodness. I've been talking so much and my coffee is very cold, but it's okay. I will drink it anyway. This has been a really great conversation, and I feel like helpful and important. Oh. Scheduling goals, adult friendships, letting go of goals, crossing them off. Catherine, most of my friends that I talk to are older than I am. Some are the parents of my school, church friends, and a couple former teachers. I love that. Age is just a number, y'all. I truly, truly believe that. I have friends all over the spectrum. There's one of my new dance friends is 23, and I adore her so much. And I just like, again, age is just a number. And then I also have friends that are older as well. Emily, what's one thing you're looking forward to for the weekend? So on Saturday, we have actually said dance friend's birthday party on Friday night. I'm looking forward to that. I know you asked for one thing, but now I'm just going to tell you about my whole weekend. So Friday night, I have my dance friend's birthday party. And then Saturday we have dance all day. So each dance spends 30 minutes on stage, working through lights and spacing and all of that stuff. And I'm literally there like basically the entire day. And then I have nothing planned on Sunday. I'm taking the entire day to do whatever. Like literally, it's probably going to be a whole lot of rest after Saturday, but I'm excited to do nothing on Sunday. I just felt like I had to build up to that because that's what I'm looking forward to the most is my nothing day on Sunday. Kat, does anyone have any good ideas on how to store old photos? Trying to decide if scanning them in is good enough. I think The recommendation I get the most when somebody asks about this is somebody on Instagram called Miss Freddie. This is like her area of expertise is like photo storage. And she also talks about like how to get things on and then how to organize them and all those kinds of things. So that would be my first recommendation. I don't personally follow her because I don't have any like physical photos. My parents have all of those. But I think scanning them is a good start. And then you have to decide if that is where you want them to live. Like, do you want them to live on your computer? Do you want to move them to an external hard drive or a virtual cloud? Like, where do you want them to live? Debbie, my mom passed in February. I already knew that, but like hearing you say it again, I am still like sending you all of the love and strength. Having a hard time getting back to my daily routines and focusing on goals. Would it help to do a quarterly reset now to get me refocused and motivated? My first yes is the answer, but I want to add on to that is that the whole concept of a quarterly refresh does not have to happen on the quarters of the year unless that works for you. The value of a quarterly reset, and I'm actually planning to do a whole video on this in June, is a chance to check in with your goals and change them if you need to, add things if you need to, take things away if you need to. And that can be done at any point, whenever you feel like you need it. If you don't have any major life events or your life is pretty regular throughout, like in terms of events and like working calendar throughout the year, then following the quarters on the calendar is helpful. It gives you a set structure. But if something unexpected happens, like a death in the family or a change in something, or you have a life event, like you get married. I was just telling somebody on the Patreon Q&A call that she was like, I haven't done the monthly or the quarterly refresh because I was getting married. I'm like, that's great. You didn't miss anything, right? Your refresh is just at a different time. It doesn't mean that it is wrong because it's not on the quarter. It's just a different time frame. Or let's say you're a teacher, and I know that like different parts of the country gets out different times of the year. And if you're a teacher in the South, most of the time we got out like by Memorial Day weekend. Instead of waiting till June 30th to do a quarterly refresh in the middle of your summer, maybe you do your quarterly refresh at the end of May, beginning of June, and have your next quarter either be like just your summer. It could be shorter, longer than 3 months. There is no like right or wrong in terms of when to do refreshes and how to make them work for you. So specifically for you, Debbie, absolutely. I think refreshing your goals, knowing what has changed in your life, likely cutting some of the things out, right? Again, when you set those goals back in December, your life was different. And if you need, which I am going to likely presume that you do, to give yourself some time and space and forgiveness for not being able to do all the 8 goals you thought you were going to do this year, whether it's 8 or 7, I don't care how many there are. But if you need to cut them out, like cut them down, shrink them down, cut them out, do what you need to do and do that refresh. Watch the Patreon video. You can still watch, I told this to that person, the Q&A as well. The quarterly refresh video for Patreon. The replay is still there. It's still helpful, even if you're doing it now. And just ignore when I say like April and May, March, like ignore when I say months and just think of it as going through the process of the refresh, starting with the annual goals, picking something quarterly, and then breaking them down. Okay. I feel like I have a lot to say today. Loretta, feeling disheartened because I've had to pivot my goals for April and now I need to look for a new job. Long story, and it's taking up a lot of my time. Any tips? Almost the same thing as I told Debbie. When you set your goals, and for you, it's just your monthly goals for April, your life was in a different place and things have changed. And when things change, other things change. Domino effect. So this change happened where you now have to look for a new job. It is taking up time. It's likely taking up a lot of mental and emotional energy that it's hard to even account for. That it is completely okay for you to go in and cross things off for April. Just cross them off. Add in if you want to add in looking for a new job so that you have something to check off for that. But just knowing that because your life is completely different than it was when you set those goals, it is okay for you to change them and to change your mind, knowing that you're not going to likely do what you were going to do, but you're going to do something different. And it's likely going to be more applicable and better for you right now. My nose is like super duper itchy and I'm trying to itch it without messing up my makeup. It's not working. Courtney, yes. Kendra Adachi's mindset of stretches rather than quarterly refreshes. Absolutely. I feel like, I will continue to host them on the quarter because for some percentage, I can't even like throw out a fake number. Some percentage of us, that's fine, right? Those quarterly refreshes are just fine for our lives. Um, that our job is not any different on the quarter, and our like we don't have if you don't have a major life event. Now, if that is not you, your job is different. You're a teacher, you're an accountant. Your job changes a lot throughout the calendar year. You have a big life event. You're getting married, you had a baby, you had a grandchild, you had to move, you had a new job, whatever life change is, do your refreshes around those life changes. That is more important than it being on the quarter, right? And frankly, most of the Patreon replays, they're not super specific to like it that month or that quarter. So you could go back and rewatch it at any time that you need. Okay, Heather, I skipped yours because I know that her comment was still applicable. Just got the word that we'll be back in the office soon. Haven't been in since 2020. Any thoughts or things I should do ahead of time? It feels like the first day of school and I need new things. It does feel like the first day of school. I think for me, it was knowing that day, that was all that I was going to be able to do that day, right? And know that going back in was going to be so different than it was before, but I had no idea what that meant. I didn't know what that looked like. I didn't know what that felt like. And so nothing else was going to happen that day. And then even for other goals that month, like not much else was going to happen while I was trying to get back into the groove of going back into the office and knowing that was going to be the priority. I think it's helpful to think back to what you did before in terms of like, did you pack your lunch? Did you leave a water bottle at the office? Did you bring your own water bottle? Like all those like little things, like did you bring your own shoes? Did you leave? Maybe that's just me because I commuted that I had separate shoes. I mean, I literally had like 7 pairs of shoes waiting for me at the office. But knowing that it might look very different now, and that's okay. And it's going to take time to get used to. And just like any major change, this is a change. Even if it was something you did 2 years ago, it's 2 years later. You're a different person. The world is different. It's a big change and it's going to take time to get used to, and giving yourself the time and permission to like settle in to that change. Oh yes. And the exhaustion that hit me after going back to the office. And all I had to do was walk a little bit. And I was like, oh, it was exhausted. Oh, Yvonne, this is a great recommendation as well, to see if you could start going on 1 day a week just to test things like a commute, or like just to see how it felt. Yeah. If you can, if your company is open to you working your way up, that is going to be obviously more beneficial than just like going straight to 5 days a week or even like 3 days a week, working your way up to it. I think also just like, if your entire company is coming back on the same day, that's going to be a lot. That's going to be like very overwhelming. But I also knew I would likely get very little work done that day because I was like going into the office for the first time and seeing what my desk was like and what was there and what got messed with and whatever. So yeah, it's a very, very odd experience. And then I did it for a couple months. I was like, hey, I don't want this anymore. I'm going to leave now. Yeah. It's a very strange time. Oh, only 3 days a week, once a month is needed. That's not bad. Yeah, it's not bad, but that also makes it hard as well, because if it's not the same consistently, it's going to feel new and different almost every time you do it, which is going to be harder, but just something to think about. Amy, how do you schedule creative tasks like brainstorming for content business stuff? I feel like it takes so long to get in the right frame of mind. The time is over before I'm done. This is a great question. So the specific answer for content is I usually schedule 2 to 3 blocks of time for brainstorming, because you're right. There are times that I will have it scheduled and then I sit down to do it and I'm like, I got nothing. Nothing is coming out of my brain. I don't have any ideas. I don't have any, I'm not creative right now. And I will just, it won't happen. So like, for example, I know that I'm filming on Monday for May, May's videos on Monday. So I have 3 different chunks of time scheduled between now and then to brainstorm content for May, because I know that I cannot expect to just do it once and be done with it. So I schedule different times for it. And then, Amanda's answer is very similar to what I was going to say next, which is sometimes I will just let it when it hits. So whatever creative tasks that I have, if I am randomly inspired to do those creative things, whatever is on my schedule at that time gets crossed off, and I sit into that, and I'm like, okay, I am in a creative mode. I'm going to sit into that, and I'm going to take advantage of it, and I'm going to go with whatever it is that I need to be creative on, and reschedule whatever was on my plate. Within reason, right? I'm not rescheduling like coaching calls to be creative, but like if I was going to do something myself, but I'm feeling creative, I'm going to do my creativity instead. And then the last thing, which I learned from, where did I learn this? Your creativity is refueled by stepping away. So the more time that I am spending out of the business, the more likely I'm going to be creative when I'm in the business. And I know that, and I can tell. So like, I know that usually coming back from vacation, I'm going to be a little bit more creative that week because I've been able to turn my brain off, and my brain has been able to think about other things. I also come up with random ideas when I'm turned off and on vacation, and I will just make sure I have a place to jot those down. But I know I likely, if I'm going to try and schedule something, if I can, I'm going to try and back it up to a time that I know that I'm taking time off to let my brain breathe, basically. That's a good question and a good topic. Okay. I think I'm all caught up on questions, and we are almost out of time, which again, this time just absolutely flies. So if you have any last minute questions, feel free to drop them in the chat, but I'm going to go ahead and ask you my last question that I ask you every single week, which is, what is one thing that you will do this week to make progress on your goals? It does not have to be massive. Just like we talked about with wins, small progress is still progress. Where is that cup? What is one small thing that you will do this week to make progress on your goals? If you're here live, drop it in the chat. If you are watching the replay and you've made it this long, you're amazing. Please drop it in the comments. I want to hear about your goals too, even if you're catching the replay. What is one thing that you will do this week to make progress on your unique goals? I'm going to chew my coffee would be a good start on my afternoon goals. Waiting for the comments to come in. I know you're there. Oh, there they are. Amanda, I scheduled a live stream productivity sprints on your channel. Going to work on your goals during that. Starts in 30 minutes. So fun. Emily, continue to rest from your cold. I know. I hope that you feel better. Katie, figure out everything I have on my plate right now and determine the status so I can figure out what's next. I like that. Get it all out of your head. Go to the gym on Friday. I love that. Going to pick up your books again and start with 1 page a day. I love that small step. Such a small step. Joanna, I feel like your answer is always your one-on-one homework. Make a schedule for your weekend that includes my goals, but also my fun things. Cheney, continue to adjust my routines. Just because you're changing and adjusting your routine does not mean that you're failing. I feel like I've said that before, but I always feel the need to add that in when someone talks about changing them. And figure out how to, I'm assuming you mean switch, weekend things to weekdays. I like it. Stretch. Oh, that's something that I need to. I keep getting advertisements for this like Stretch app, and it looks really intriguing, but then I like downloaded it and it's not free. And I'm like, I don't really want to pay for that. Thanks though. Get the laundry caught up. Oh my gosh, I feel that. Going to write a blog post for a site I contribute to, but it's due May 1st, but I want to finish early. That is awesome. So many different goals, so many different action steps. I love hearing about all of them. Y'all are the best. Thanks for hanging out with me today. If you wouldn't mind giving this video a thumbs up before you head out, I would greatly appreciate that. And if you're new here, please click that subscribe button. I upload new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, focused on helping you achieve your goals. Thank you so much.